Hey, small business owners. Have your sales gone up but your bank account doesn't? Has getting to know your numbers been on your to-do list for a while? Let's face it, you're good at doing the work in your business, but the money is hard. Have you noticed that by the time you pay your bills and pay everyone else each month, there's just not that much left for you? It's just not fair. As a business owner, you know you deserve to be getting paid more than you are, but you just can't seem to figure out where all the money went. What if there was another way? What if there was a way to tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went? What if you had money in your bank accounts at the end of the month to show for all your hard work? Well, this is the sign you've been looking for, that you're not alone and help is just a call away. The team at Likes Accounting prides themselves on being financial translators that can help you find smarter ways to make money, save money, and finally start paying yourself a salary that you deserve. Working with Likes Accounting not only helps you know your numbers, but they're cheerleaders helping you build a more profitable lifestyle business. The team at Likes Accounting are just a bunch of numbers nerds. They're all self-employed experts with experience in your industry. Megan, the owner, is not only fun, easy to understand, and crazy smart, she's even a CPA. Tech to CEO listeners get a free review of their QuickBooks online when they mention this podcast and visit likesaccounting.com. Again, get a free review of your financial data when you visit likesaccounting.com and the Tech to CEO podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another rendition of Technician to CEO. I'm your host, Wesley Maria, Bergflow Service Leader. And today I'm very privileged to have Curt Kempton from ResponsiBid. Thank you, Curt, for joining us. Maybe give us 2 minutes who you are, what's ResponsiBid about, who's Curt?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Curt Kempton. I am the CEO and founder of ResponsiBid. It's a home service selling funnel product and philosophy that we started about 10 years ago. I actually started it within my own window washing company and pressure washing company. And yeah, I since then I've sold my home service cleaning company and focused 100% on the software and the products that we create. It's been quite a journey. I have no background in technology other than the fact that I just became passionate about it. And I took my degree that I got at business school and sort of transformed myself into a tech CEO. I've enjoyed a lot of it. There's a lot of it that I would love to never have to do again. But I would say that at this point in my life, I'm absolutely enjoying being a husband and a father of 4 kids. And I have about 25 employees at this point. My team is awesome. I very much love my team. I'm surrounded by very talented, very amazing human beings. And I'm really kind of in my prime. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm not saying my life is perfect. I just don't know what in the world like I'd rather have than what I've got right now.
Yeah. Well, Curt, congratulations, man. I think a lot of people want to feel that. You know, I've seen a lot of business owners and businesses, they build a company, they build a business just to realize, I actually don't like what I do. I actually don't like going into the office. So, you know, congratulations on building something. I wish you all the best for ResponsiBid. I know that you guys had a conference recently as well. So tell me a little bit about what was the journey like from your days in the window cleaning industry to, you know, from the technician mindset to the CEO that you are today. What was that journey like for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, to be fair, I graduated from ASU's business school and I actually thought I was going to start a bike shop. It wasn't until like right after I graduated and I was about to close on a loan for a bike, like a bicycle shop. It wasn't until my youngest daughter, or actually she's my oldest child, but she was very young, a couple of years old. It wasn't until she told me that she always knew when Sunday was because I was home with the family. I had a big mindset shift, and I actually had been reading a book called The Millionaire Next Door. You ever heard of that book?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thomas Stanley is the name of the author. Anyway, in that book, it really did talk about the idea of building a business that nobody else, like that. No, millionaires tend to own businesses that are not sexy. Everyone thinks that millionaires are basketball players and movie stars or whatever. But that book sort of helps you understand people who own car washes, scrap yards, and home service companies tend to be the millionaires. Just nobody knows because it's not flashy. And I think everything kind of came together with me on that Sunday morning when my daughter was telling me, "Hey, today's Sunday, you're home with us." And I hated how that felt. And I told my wife and started the cleaning company. I started with the mindset of an owner, but when you're an owner operator, I immediately went into that technician phase you're talking about. And, we're all familiar, I think, with the E-Myth at this point. And Michael Gerber talks about the difference between, he calls it an entrepreneurial seizure. I think my seizure came from the right spot because I had no idea how to clean windows. And the way I learned was that I called up a guy who was about an hour and a half away from me. And I asked if I could work for free for him until I learned everything I needed to start my own business, which he was cool with. And he's like, "Yeah, free labor, I'll take it."
Yeah.
So I know my entrepreneurial seizure was not from the technician perspective, but that day-to-day operation sucked me right in. And when you're hustling to try and, make a living for a family, I became full-blown technician for a couple of years, deep. And even when I rose out and started becoming more of the entrepreneur and the leader of that company, I still would say that my heart was in the technician part because I felt like I would be lazy if I just felt like the managerial stuff, my employees might not respect me because I might look like I was lazy. And I hate that I thought what other people thought of me so much like that, or that I wasn't being the leader I needed to. But anyway, in that journey is when I created a technology that allowed my customers to get online quotes and to make it so that my salespeople could give uniform and, more compelling quotes. And that sort of gave birth to when other people started asking, how do I get that in my company? That's where ResponsiBid was born. And then from there, that there's a Chinese proverb, I think it is, that says, "A man who chases two rabbits catches none."
Yes.
I look at people like Sir Richard Branson, I think it is, and Elon Musk, people who can run lots of businesses. And I can't chase two rabbits. Like, I watch these people, they are amazing at what they do. I was not capable. So I thought I got a quite fair deal on my window washing and pressure washing business. We had won for 3 years straight the International Window Cleaning Association's most professional image award. And so we definitely had gotten things running in a pretty cool way. But I went straight for the software, and it was a rude awakening to find out that I sold the business that I knew and had started, and I was now the CEO of a software company and didn't know how to really write a line of code myself at that time. So anyway, I've obviously skipped over a lot of details, but for the purposes of this podcast, I found in my first business that creating a great culture will allow people to throw themselves into your business and give the best parts of themselves. And therefore, I don't need to know everything. In fact, it's almost preferred that I'm not the how. I don't dictate the how, the Who Not How book. I can't remember the author of that right now, but I didn't invent that phrase. Anyway, I found a lot of the right who's and let them tell me how. And because I'd had the background in that previous home service company, my software company, well, again, I'll say it hasn't been like a dream or a breeze. I will say I would never be where I'm at today had I not found people who are much smarter to tell me how to do it. And I feel like that's sort of where we're at now, is that I have all these all-stars around me that I can't believe they are willing to work, for me, but like with me, and it's been fun to watch all of them grow and also to level me up as we've grown.
Kurt, I love the way that you focus on the who, not how. I think that's such a pivotal turning point for CEOs, is when you can start getting out of your own way and you realize there are people that are smarter than me. I don't have to figure it all out. They don't have to do what I say. I can actually learn from them. So surrounding yourself with these strong leaders in your world is really what propels the business forward. And we do a lot of work with clients to actually help and establish and develop those leaders. And one of the biggest ceilings that I see a lot of business owners face is they've got these really strong players, but they don't develop themselves at a pace to keep up with those people. And then they become the ceiling, and these guys come in and they go out, and eventually you have this revolving door of talent through your business. And it's like, man, it must be everybody else. Maybe if I can just find the right person. So in that journey, let me ask you this. When did you realize you were a CEO? Not the day, but when did you start feeling like, okay, I own the responsibility of being CEO?
Ooh, earned the responsibility. Oof, that's a good question, Wesley. Well, dang, that's a process, and it came layer by layer. Let me say this. In the home service company, it's called 5-Star Window Care. Back in my 5-Star Window Care days, one day I wrote a list of all the things that I could not stand about my people or my company. It had gotten really bad. I felt like my employees bossed me around. I felt like I could not control everything. It was gotten too big for me. And I took out a legal pad of paper and I just started writing all the stuff that I couldn't stand. Now, it's going to sound kind of funny to list these things off now, because I promise you they sound trite, but they say the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm not kidding you. Like, all these things add up. So, for example, employees not showing up on time. So throwing the whole day off. Now we have customers calling in who are frustrated that things are late. Leaving stuff on job sites. That was such a big one for me. They'd leave a step ladder or a towel or a pressure washing tool of some sort. Do we have to buy a new one? Can you figure out where it was at? And like, all the time going back and forth. I felt like people not wearing uniforms. That was another thing that we sold, the background check and the uniformed employees. And sometimes they wouldn't stick to that. And taking care of my vehicles. We had this is a big one. We had an engine blow because a guy told me he did the oil maintenance, but he didn't. And so I was on my way out of town to go do something with my family. And on my way out of town, I have to drop a van off to get the engine swapped. And that was a whole big thing. And it was stressful. And honestly, I could go on and on. That paper, I seriously filled up like 4 sheets of paper of just all the things I couldn't stand. And from that paper, I was able to build a 1-sheet solution. Now it was a typed sheet, so to be fair, it was really little. But I built a certification program for my employees, and this is where the pivot happened for me. Is that all the things on that piece of paper, they could continue to do those things because there were no guardrails. While they probably knew that those things annoyed me, there was no way for them to prove that they were operating the 5-star way, because I hadn't dictated the guardrails. So I built a certification program that basically outlined how you could get yourself a raise by learning safety and all that at kind of the first level. And then it would move into like competence, and then reading books, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, writing reports, taking tests on it, Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh from Zappos. Anyway, like, there's a whole list of books that they would read, write reports, talk about how that's going to change the way they act in our company. There are certain company policies that they had to basically at level 1 show that they knew safety, but also like things that you would think are common sense. They had to prove that they knew, and oral tests and written tests. All these things were just to sort of write our company manual on the heart of each employee. Well, as I wrote that piece of paper down and I dictated how much that was worth to me in terms of dollars per hour or commission rate, because even the commission rate could rise. That's when I realized this is the work. This right here is the work that I signed up for, and I'm now doing it for the first time. Now, you asked me, like, when did I realize I earned the right and the privilege to be a CEO? I think there was a certain level of embarrassment that I'd been in business for 3 or 4 years at this point. And I'm just now becoming a CEO. But I will be honest, the results were so big that I have, ever since that point, I've realized my job is to cheerlead, direct, and empower the people who work for me, because they're the megaphone end. I'm the voice that goes into the megaphone. but where it reaches the world will always go through someone different. And I have spent the rest of my CEO years, not that I've fallen back into technician roles. I'm sure of it many times, but I really do. When I wake up in the morning, it's what message needs to go through the megaphone today? How am I going to empower more today? How do I help my people to level up more and more to become an appendage to this big thing that I built? Because the moment I try to control something, there's no voice at the end of the megaphone anymore. So that's what I've tried to do. And I'm, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like a 3 or 4 by now, of where I want to be. But, a year ago, I was probably like a 2. So like I'm getting there,
Well, Curt, I want to circle back to a couple of things that you said. One is you referenced the multiplier effect. Is you're the voice into the microphone and everybody else carries that voice. And I think when you have the right leadership and the right team around you, the multiplier effect becomes so easy, because all you're having to do is motivate the culture. And again, the foundation to that is, my next question was going to be, what made you decide to take on this journey, which you clearly have explained. But I think a lot of people hit that ceiling because they don't know the why. Why do I need to go above and beyond? And in effect, when you step into that CEO role that you are today, what you do no longer is so important as how strong of a leader you are. Because you become a people leader. Is those people are buying into your vision, they hooking or hitching to your wagon to say, hey, we want to go where you're going. And if your vision is compelling enough and the journey is exciting enough, then the people are going to stick around and they're going to add impetus to what you're doing. Because otherwise the leadership's only going to rise to the level in which we hold them up. But if they're at the top pushing the envelope, I just, as a CEO, I just have to get out their way or keep up, one of the two.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. How have you grown because of this? Let's talk about family. You mentioned, dad being home on Sunday only. How have you grown because of this?
Well, I'll say as a husband and a father, I think there's probably some real embarrassment. Like, I would go so far as to call it shame there's like a kind of a dark period where I think my kids thought the business and the work was more important than they were. I even think my wife probably experienced that for a few years. And I don't share that. I don't share that shame lightly. I think there's probably a few people listening who might even be in that hole right now. And I can feel myself getting a little bit emotional right now. So I'll try to kind of get out of that hole real quick. But the fact is, how have I grown? Well, when you realize that your job is to just allow people to operate at their highest level, and one of our company values is that our people can empower because they are empowered. That's that company value right there is, I think, that one of the key catalysts to allow myself to grow is to realize that not only do I not have to have the pressure of knowing that every buck stops with me, it is that I have someone who is more capable of allowing the buck to stop with them, and to give them the full confidence and support that they need is an incredible feeling as a leader, to realize that my job is to be a mentor. And I don't mentor people in the technical part of their jobs because I can't. I'm not good enough. But I can mentor them from the perspective of how to engineer a culture and a people that are able to sort of run friction free. And so I would say that, to answer your question, how have I grown? It's been a major pressure relief. And I've been able to pour energy into things that I am good at, which I think that being a father and a husband, I'd like to say, is one of the things I'm probably best at. But as far as company goes, our company's still small enough that I still know all of my employees, their spouses. I think I know virtually all of the kids that they have. I know a bunch of their dogs' names. Like I could carry a conversation about the personal growth of each individual employee, even the ones that I don't manage directly. And it's a good spot to be. Like, I love it. I'm not gonna be in this stage forever, but right now I am. And I feel like that's probably one of the biggest growth pieces that I've had, is to say, I love what I've built so far, and I love who's on the journey with me. We call it the pirate ship. I love who's on the crusade with me here. And I love what we're trying to do. And I think that as far as growth goes, I can't say that's always been the case. There's been lots of times in my life where earning the money, and sometimes it was money that was necessary, and other times it was money that would make life more comfortable. But regardless, they're both pretty hollow. And I'd say that that's where probably my growth is that I've escaped sort of the hollowness of chasing the dollar. And now, like, I have so much joy from the crusade,
So obviously you're expressing some deeper emotions that you have around things. And I think it's very evident that it comes from a deep sense of responsibility, not only to your wife, but to your kids. And I think one thing that's true that needs to be said is we cannot give unto others which we cannot give unto ourselves, or that which we cannot give ourselves, we cannot give others. So your team is effectively relying on you to carry that cadence of responsibility, accountability, rising to the challenge. And I think a lot of times, as business owners, they step into the CEO role or business owner world. It's like, okay, you now serve me and my needs. And it's very much the opposite, because being a CEO actually is 100% servanthood.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. Well said. Well said. One of our company values, we break down each value a little bit. And one of the little sayings under our value is that we're a customer service company who happens to make software. That value is just as true for my developers as it is for my sales reps and my support team. It's funny. All of us do customer support. We're a customer support company. Well, how can a developer do customer support? They're busy writing code. Well, when we meet and we discuss the rollout of a new feature or the idea of doing user tests on a feature or whatever, what will serve the customer at the highest level, right? And the developer thinks of customer service in terms of the way they can serve the customer. Well, that little saying, we're a customer service company who happens to make software, I think that every CEO could say, I'm an employee servant who happens to own a company. Yes. And I've never said that out loud, but when you just said that, I was like, that rings so true to me. Because if you can move your mind into that model, which when I wrote that certification program out, it took me like an hour to write it, but my life has changed ever from that point, because it moved me into the role of, if they want a raise, just show them how to get the raise. If you want your company to operate right, just show them what you want. And like, I just moved to the other end of the megaphone and realized the service is what, in fact, one of our company values is service is the glory. We're not looking for other glory. The fact that we are healthy and mentally capable of serving, that's glory in and of itself. And yeah, you can read our reviews and see how that glory comes back in ways that our customers like delight us with the things that they say. But we are humans who are empathetic and work together in lockstep. And the reason that they're empathetic at the customer level is because they cannot give what they have not been given, right? And I feel like, man, gosh, I love how you said that. Thank you, Wesley.
Sure. So, Curt, one of the things, I think a lot of people, and there's lots of noise and conversation out there around purpose. And I think purpose in of itself is really important. But I think what a lot of people miss is perspective around purpose. is, what is my purpose? My purpose is to provide for my family. My purpose is to have a bunch of employees that really like what they do. But the perspective is, am I viewing it top down? Or do I have the servant leader heart that says, my perspective is to make them better, is to change their life? And I think those that truly rise to the challenge of CEO often doesn't know that that's one of the hurdles in your way. At some point, you're going to be challenged ethically, internally, to say, I need to change my perspective around my purpose.
Gosh. Okay, so I think you're really onto something here, because I've certainly had those ethical challenges. I would actually say, in my experience, this perspective that you're talking about, I think everyone starts their business with probably either the right perspective or at least a very close to correct perspective. Even the entrepreneurial seizure people who say, I'm really good at this, I can do this better than my boss, I'm going to go out on my own. And they just didn't realize that the boss also was doing marketing and finance and supply, whatever, and all the things that come along with being a boss, HR and everything else. So I think that everyone starts with a good perspective, but the moment you get down into the trenches, your perspective changes dramatically. I mean, literally, like if we think of the metaphor of a trench, you don't even see the horizon anymore. You don't see the battlefield at all. And I think that a lot of really great servant leader people get into those trenches, and they think the best way they're going to serve those people that get in the trenches with them is to stay there on the front lines with them. And it's wrong. It feels right when you're down in the trench because your perspective, like what you said, their perspective is not right. And it's not because they don't want to have it. It's not because they never did have it. I think a true servant leader is more prone to getting stuck down in that trench at that $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, maybe even a $300,000 a year, that is just stuck all the time, never can rise above because they're so busy trying to handle the front lines. And the fact is that if you really are a true servant leader, you have to get past that. And you've got to realize that we need a commander. We need someone who's going to be a general and who's going to see the battlefield for what it is, see where the horizon's at, watch the enemy, watch the people on the field, protect them from things they can't see. So that perspective point, I think it gets robbed almost immediately when a really well-meaning entrepreneur, like day one of their business.
Yeah, because the day one being that entrepreneurial leader, you get kicked in the face. And like, man, I arrived here with the best intentions, and I get kicked in the face for doing the right thing. It reminds me of the story of the guys who were laying bricks. And this guy walked up to this group of guys, and they were laying bricks. And the first guy, he said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm just laying bricks." And he's, brick, cement, brick, cement, brick, cement. It's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And goes to the next guy. It's like, "What are you building?" It's like, "No, we're busy building a wall." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So that's your view. And I went to the last guy and he said, "What are you building?" He said, "No, we're building this massive cathedral where people will come and serve God." They all do exactly the same thing. It's their perspective of their purpose.
Yeah.
That gives meaning to what they do. So the one guy, for him, it's just, I am bricklayer. I am a 1 + 1. So the results I do is just 1 + 1. And I think for you to identify those people that you're going to take along with you in the journey are the guys that can step back and say, we're actually building a cathedral.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to identify people who are looking to build a cathedral.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who have a lot of experience, it's been brick by brick by brick by brick. And after a while, they're a bricklayer. But there's a certain mentality. I don't know that you can give it to anybody. I don't even know it can be trained in. I think that there's a factor you're looking for. And if I could give one piece of advice to someone who is in that dark spot I talked about earlier, I would almost be willing to bet that like there's people all around you that are looking to build the same cathedral that if you're willing to step into the visionary place and build it and help identify what it is that you're trying to do. And if you're willing to step back and make sure that goals are achieved and that you aren't trying to like get through the day, but to instead get through this goal than the next goal. It might seem impossible at the beginning because you're like, Curt, that's a really beautiful thing, but people who build cathedrals are expensive. Well, I would say that we've never really entered. I don't know of a workforce that's been more motivated by just doing good than the current one that we're in. I think that there was a time when the pension was the decision whether they're going to be with you, or whether the health insurance was the reason that they would join your team. I think purpose is more important now than ever before. And if you find the right people, all you have to say to those people is, look, I don't have enough money to hire you right now, but if you're a cathedral builder, I will be happy to allow you to make a place here where you can write your own paycheck. All you have to do is come bring your marketing efforts, your sales efforts, your technician efforts, we could go on and on, right? You do a good enough job at this thing, and we will be able to directly monetize what it is that your efforts are. You're here at the early stages. You'll be rewarded according to your efforts. A cathedral builder is very motivated by that. A bricklayer, no. I get paid by the brick.
Yeah.
By the brick. So just keep your eyes open for those people who either share your vision. Well, hopefully you've conveyed it and they can share it, but who are vision inspired, because it's not as hard to hire those people as you may think.
Yeah, the trick, and we do a lot of training and advice around finding those people. And I think the key ingredient a lot of people struggle with, and we see this when we deal with companies, is their vision is so one-dimensional, because they cast the vision from that of a bricklayer. Well, if I just get 10 bricklayers, we'll build the wall quicker. That's the height of our vision. And you're never going to attract those true cathedral high-minded people into your space if all you're presenting to them is, hey, come and be the best bricklayer you can. You can win the prestigious bricklayer award title of the year. You're still just a bricklayer. So you touched on something, Curt, that I think is worth exploring. When you're on that lonely CEO journey, when you're getting kicked in the face, how important do you feel it is to have a peer-to-peer network where you can go to other cathedral builders and say, you know what, I'm struggling. I'm struggling as a dad to balance being a dad, being a business owner. I'm struggling to be a boss. I'm struggling to be a leader. I'm struggling to hold the vision when I'm losing focus. I'm running low on energy. How important do you feel a peer-to-peer network is in that space?
Well, I wouldn't be here without the one I have. My wife is an amazing support, and she's the strength behind what got me through so many hard times. But there's a lot she can't give me, and it's not because she doesn't want to, but she doesn't have an entrepreneurial bone in her body. She's a nurse. She wants to work for a big company and help people and just get paid to help people and not worry about all the things that go on behind the scenes. And frankly, it makes her probably a better support for me than any, because she doesn't really touch the nerves because she doesn't want to see behind the curtain. So while I'm laying in bed worried about payroll tomorrow, she's quietly sleeping and feeling great. And I say that to honor her, but to also recognize that you do need to have someone that you can talk to who has either been where you are, is where you are, someone who can help beat up ideas with you. Because you use the word lonely. I'm going to go ahead and just call it what it is. It's horrible. It's horrible. And sometimes you don't want to find someone to network with who's going to just commiserate the horribleness.
Yeah.
You want that person who's like, okay, I've got a problem. Let's get a solution. I had 3 guys that I used to go to breakfast with once a week, every Wednesday morning, right around the time that just starting the ResponsiBid venture, still had my 5-star window care business. And we would go to breakfast, and all 3 of us would be able to bring a list of our top 3 problems and the things that we did about the problems that we had last week that we brought. And we just had 1 sheet of paper each. We would just talk about it. One guy owns a garbage disposal company. One guy had a marketing company that's just for local like restaurants in the area. And then I had my window washing company and started the software company. And we would sit there and talk about wide variety of problems. But it's funny how the guy who owned the garbage company, the garbage guy, it's a really cool company. I would bring him problems that I thought had nothing to do with anything that he would have any experience with. And he would just give me the most wise answers and like very practical answers. Same with the marketing guy too. And anyway, I guess what I'm saying is that like that group, I care for them deeply. I really do love them, but they were not friends. And I know that sounds weird, but like we didn't sit and talk about our kids and our vacations and we had an hour and we had to get through a bunch of stuff and we had found each other through friendly relations. But I felt like that was actually a key component. And I want to say that as a peer-to-peer network, I get a certain rejuvenation from my wife. I get a certain rejuvenation from my kids. I get a certain rejuvenation from my friends. But that peer-to-peer network rejuvenation is in its own category.
Yeah.
And obviously I would love to, have dinner with any of them at any time. It would be a fun, friendly thing to do. But I liked that they didn't get emotionally attached to like certain things of my life and allowed me to see it from a different perspective. And that would be another thing I would say as far as that peer-to-peer network is that you're looking for someone who's not going to tell you what you want to hear. You're looking for someone who will break down that barrier of friendship to tell you what's really going to make you better, and who will hold you accountable to the things you said you were going to do previously.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, our spouses or our friends, they're like, well, I know what you're going through, Kurt. It must be tough. So I'm not going to beat you up today. And the garbage guy is like, dude, you're gonna get your ass handed to you more than you think. It's like, no. Tell me it's gonna get better. It's like, don't worry, sweetie. And I think having that accountability structure around us, it gives the opportunity for honest, frank feedback.
Yeah.
And again, it brings me back to my point around perspective. If everybody's in the maze, it's very difficult for us to see the way. And if you've got somebody with a top-down view and it's like, dude, just turn left. It's easy. Just turn left. You'll get out the maze. Everybody else is, well, just take 3 right turns and you'll get out. It's like, no, there must be another way. And I think that accountability structure, there's 2 elements for me to that. There's what you get out of it, and there's what would you put into it. Yeah. And you've got to go into that relationship knowing that if I see something off, these guys expect me to call them on it. I'm not here to, give them a nice experience on a Wednesday morning. I'm not saying it's a beat up session, but this is a frank, honest conversation because that's why you're engaging with me, is you want an outside perspective. So again, I was going to ask you what advice would you have to help others change their perspective, but I mean, let me ask you this. What are you excited about the future?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we're doing as far as the software goes, it's very exciting. We're building some tools that are pretty revolutionary that, man, it just makes me chuckle to think of like that I'm part of it. But I will say this as a CEO, what I'm really excited about, and away from the product itself, I have this week I hired 2 new employees who are both what I would consider A+ players, and like they're like how exciting to add this to our group. I am so fascinated to see, for me, how far can I take the business that I love? How many people are going to be part of this tribe? What does that look like? What is that going to feel like? How many incredibly brilliant people that are also humble, that are also like members who are on our crusade, but just don't happen to be on our boat yet. We're trying to get onto the pirate ship. Who am I going to meet tomorrow and next year? And what is our company get together look like when we quadruple what we are? And at what point, this is another thing, like I'm all about leveling up, but at what point does my role move from CEO, that there's somebody that we've hired that's a better CEO than me, and I move into something that's more like just, maybe less tactical or strategic, and maybe less strategic and more tactical, or I don't know. I'm curious to see where my leveling up goes and how this team goes. One of our, I keep talking about our company values. I guess that's kind of my job, but one of our company values is that the best idea wins. And there's no ego in our idea not making it to the finish line as long as the best one makes it to the finish line. And I feel like that's another big strength that we have, is that the ego, being CEO isn't a thing for me, that like, it's not part of my identity. It's not how I sleep at night, with who I am. But I think at this point, I am the best person for the job. I'm curious to see, like, will I always be here? I mean, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
So, I mean, there's a famous saying by Mario Andretti, and he said, if you feel like you're in control, you're not going fast enough. And he's an old racing driver, and that's what excites people about the future. Is I want to be at that brink where I almost feel like, man, I'm at the limit of what I can do. And then you bring in this talented people into the team, and they just underpin what you're doing, and you go to the next level. And that's how you level up all the time. Is if you stay plateaued on top of the leadership that you have to stretch so that you can bring newness in. Either skill these people up and promote them into the business, or bring in new blood, new excitement into that. So let me ask you, I've got two more questions that I want to leave you with. One, what has been your greatest success?
Oof. My greatest success. Man, that's a tough one. I've done a lot of things I'm proud of. I've done some things I'm not very proud of. I'm a pretty emotional person. I write, like, everything I do is probably lit by more emotion than your average CEO. I think more CEOs are able to disconnect more. It's hard to separate personal victories from business victories. They're sort of lit with the same emotional energy. I mean, okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Honestly, I really do feel like catching the wife that I caught was like pretty amazing. Like, how the heck did I do it? But to keep it in the business mindset, I have done an amazing job of attracting and keeping around me people that, like, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe I get these people around me. And I know I've referenced that already, so maybe it feels like I'm just repeating some of the old stuff, but whether it's my wife or whether it's like, gosh, I even have like these kids. My daughter's this artist that I'm like, wow. Like, and she's chased that and done amazing things with that. And I have a son who wants to get into software engineering, and he's like this little teen prodigy building stuff with Raspberry Pis that blow my mind, like robotic stuff and 3D printed, like crazy stuff. And then my employees that I already talked about from a sales technology side, support side, like one of the guys that works for me, he has more patience in his little like pinky than I have my whole body. He runs our retention side of our company. And like, he deals with things that like would just send me over the edge all the time at the customer level. But for him, it's not even a thing. Like, it's an honor for him to do it. And I guess I'm just really proud of the fact that I have personally been able to build not a Rolodex, not like people I can call on, but like a network of people who, some are on payroll, some are not, but like literally every person in my life that I talk to on any sort of regular basis, like they just lift, they're just powerful people. And the cool thing about it is that like I'm trying to improve myself so that I can be more on their level. And there's a little bit of like a pulling effect on me, but none of them hold it against me that I'm not the smartest person in the conversation. Like they all respect me for who I am, while I'm able to respect them for who they are.
Kurt, I want to mention something to you. I've spoken to hundreds of CEOs, and whenever I ask them that question, they all, for some reason, start with the wife that I got. And then once they move past that emotional, because that's the real thing, that's the real part of who we are is, well, it's the closest to me. So it's where I go to find my affirmation. Mm-hmm. The second thing that I observe when I ask that question is everybody talks about other people. The question is specifically, what was your biggest success? Oh. And to me, the sign is every time I ask the question that direct, the CEO always points out, these guys are doing a great job. I'm yet to meet a successful CEO that says, well, I built this and I do this and I. And I think, we've all heard the cliche, there's no I in team, but I think it's the label or the indicator of somebody that's truly a CEO is somebody that says, you know what, it's about the other people. I've created something that other people are. You don't say, hey, you use the ship model. We teach on it is, well, this is our ship. Who's coming on the ship? It's not, oh, I am Captain Blackbeard and I've got this crew. You refer to it as the pirate ship, the inclusive statement, the inclusive notion. So I want to commend you for that. So
thank you.
And I know this is going to be a little bit of a head scratcher, but I want to end with this one. Okay. What has been your biggest blunder?
Ooh.
And I know you've only had like one, so you can use one obvious one.
Oh gosh, Wesley, like how do I pick? Gosh, I've wasted so much money on things that didn't work. I've hired people and not fired them because I was embarrassed of having a hard conversation. I've gotten down to like I talked about getting in the trenches, and I spent way too much time down in the trenches trying to lead from the trenches. The biggest blunder, I think the biggest blunder I've ever, and it still plagues me, but I'm stronger now, is I think that having hard conversations for my personality style, it's a very difficult thing for me. People talk about the CEO that walks in and just starts throwing stuff off the table and just gets in their face and like really, like that's not my style at all, which, not that I'm saying that's a great leadership style, but it is to a fault that I think my skin can be a little thin. I think my heart can be a little too big. And what happens is I've actually hired family members, and that it multiplies this problem. But you hire someone on and you care a lot about them as a person, but you don't have the hard conversation, and you just let this cancer grow and grow and grow. And I have learned that lesson probably like 5 or maybe even more times than that. Like hard lessons. Like I let it go a year too long. Like I knew a year ago that I should have had the hard conversation, but it was easier for me just to not the status quo and stuff like that. Big blunder. And I'll tell you, the more of those hard conversations you have, you don't have to take the heart out of it. You can leave the heart in the conversation. In fact, I think it lubricates everything really well, but you cannot run from those conversations. You must have them. And actually they have domino effects. The longer you let that cancer grow, the more people that you really love and care about are going to get hurt because you are trying to be comfortable. You do build up some scar tissue over time. And once you learn that those hard conversations are framed in a way that blesses the person that you're trying to get rid of or say hard things to, it goes from, hey, one of our company values is we attack problems, not people. So it's not, hey, you, Wesley, you are bad. You have done these bad things. You, right? We don't do that. It's, Wesley, I have a problem. The problem is that employees are getting the idea that this is okay. And the reason that problem is being perpetuated is because I've been seeing that pattern constantly in your work or in your patterns, and it's got to stop. Or if it's an integrity problem, this integrity problem cannot live in this company. And even like, sometimes it's even appropriate to say, Wesley, I love you and I care a lot about you, but if you were in my shoes and you knew that your company value is that we don't, we treat each other like royalty. We do it through loyalty and a little bit of weirdness. If that's the company value and you have been treating someone this way, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Right. And even then, sometimes just be shocked at like how, like, you'd have to fire me. Like I would have to be fired. Yeah, it is. That's the only option I see as well. And that scar tissue that builds up doesn't make your heart work any less good, but it comes from the care about everything else that you're protecting. So I would, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would hate to think anyone else struggles with that, but I know they do.
No, they do. And again, it is the balance between care and candor. And, there's great books out there, Radical Candor, a really good book to read. I recently heard of a book called No Rules, where
interesting.
I think a lot of CEOs put so many stringent rules around do this, be this, act like this, say this, this is the shade of blue that you must wear, and you're like 2 shades lighter. And there's so many rules that we inject into the environment that some companies actually function with a no rules because it puts the ownership of the responsibility on them.
Yeah.
So, good. Thanks, man. I will carry on for hours. I really enjoy conversation with you, but a little bit about you and ResponsiBid. If people wanted to hear about your great product, where do they see you, get to hold of you, speak to you? What's your home address so they can come in to visit?
Well, I'm very specific about who I invite over to my home. So we'll start with something a little lighter than that. You can just go to ResponsiBid.com and there's a chat feature there. That's probably where you'll chat with a bunch of great people on our team. Probably some of the best like reviews we've ever gotten are about our support team, not even our software. But you can learn about us at ResponsiBid.com. We have a user group. You don't have to be a user to join the group, but it's the ResponsiBid user group on Facebook. Feel free to hop in there. You can talk to other users and sort of determine if it's right for you. If you have a home service company that sells things like window cleaning, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, maid service, lawn care, ResponsiBid is a great sales funnel to help you to systematize, to give faster and more effective quotes that will close at a higher rate. And then we also integrate with a lot of the most popular CRMs. So it's a sales funnel that'll sit right on top of the CRM you're already using and allow for like really in-depth follow-up and customer profiling, all sorts of really, really cool stuff. We help people to close more jobs at higher average ticket prices with less effort. That's what we say. And we'd love to help you any way we can.
So there you guys have it. If you guys want to get a hold of Curt and his awesome team that he's so super proud of, check them out at ResponsiBid.com. There'll be a link in the chat feature below. Curt, thank you for your time, man. I know that you're a busy guy, and then you're really spending a lot of time leading a strong team, and probably wanted to rather be with your wife and kids than with me. But thanks for spending time. I truly appreciate getting to talk to you a bit.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Curt, have a great day, man. Thanks.
You too. Bye.